So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this very simple halter neck pencil dress. I've already folded my fabric, so I have two of them here, my front and the back panel. So this is going to be a very simple tutorial. So the width I'm using here for my front panel here is my hip, the widest part of my body, which is my hip. If your bust is the widest part, then use that, but my hip is the widest part. So my hip measurement divided by 4, my hip is 48, divided by 4 is going to be 12, plus extra 1, that's 13. So that's the width I'm using to fold my fabric. As you can see, it's folded into 2. So this is my front panel, is folded into 2. And then I use my front panel to trace the back panel, but instead I added about extra 1.5 inch for my zip allowance at the back. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to start inserting my measurement. So the first thing you're going to do is to go up to the shoulder and put in your shoulder measurement. So for me, my shoulder measurement is 16, divided by 2 is going to be 8. So I'm going to mark that here, put in my armhole. Just this is going to be you drawing in your normal body. So my armhole is 20, divided by 2 is going to be 10. So I'm going to mark that here, connect it this way, put in my armhole, put in this armhole curve. And then the next thing you're going to do is on this armhole line is going to be my bust line. So I'm going to just put in my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust is 42, divided by 4 is going to be 10.5, plus extra 1 inch is going to be 11.5. So I'm going to mark that here. And then you're going to mark your shoulder to waist. So for me, my shoulder to waist is 17.5. I'm going to just mark that here. My shoulder to hip is about 25. I'm going to just mark that here. And remember, all my measurements are starting with my front panel. I'm not starting at the back here. So it's just starting at the center here, the distance from my front panel to this point. So my waist measurement 36, divided by 4 is going to be 9, and then plus extra 2 inches is going to be 11. So let me say that again. Your waist measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches, 1 inch of darting and 1 inch of seam allowance. So and then come down to the hip measurement divided by 4 for me is going to be 12, plus 1 is 13. So since I want this to be a pencil dress, I'm just going to go back up again and put in my dress length. So my dress length plus extra 1.5 inch is going to be 40 on the dot. So I'm just going to mark 40 here. It depends on the length you want your dress to be. So mine, whatever length you want your dress to be, add 1.5 to this line of my dress length, because my hip and the bottom part is the same length. Sorry, my hip measurement here is the same as this one here, and I want it to be pens, so I'm going to just subtract 1 inch here. So that's how you normally get your pens dress. So what I'm going to do is come down from this 1 inch of hip line, because you cannot connect this line directly to this point. It will give you that pokey effect when you finish sewing it. So I'm just going to come down 1 inch from my hip line and then connect it to this point. So I'm just going to connect these two together, connect it to the 1 inch, and then make a straight line after that. And then now connect my hip to my waist, and then my waist to my bust. So that's basically how you're going to do it. So now we've gotten the body. So what we're going to do is to go back up here and put in and cut the halter neck. So what I'm going to do is to mark 3 inches here for my neck width, and then I'm going to go down by another 3 inches for the width and then the depth. So I'm going to just connect it here. So 3 by 3 neckline. And then after that, what I'm going to do now is to come 1 inch from this curve here. You see this curve of my neckline here. I'm just going to come down 1 inch from there. So for me, that 1 inch will be somewhere here. And then I'm going to connect it down and blend it into my armhole. So I'm just going to blend it in this way. So guys, I've marked this one here on a straight line, connect it into your armhole. And then for my back neckline, I'm just going to use 1 inch for my back neckline. So connect that this way, and then just mark it this way. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and cut this out. So on this straight line here, I'm going to cut this whole thing out, cut this way and then all the way to the end. So guys, after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut out my back neckline. So I'm going to just cut out my back neckline here. So guys, now that I've cut out this here, you see my back neckline, you see my front neckline. I'm going to just go ahead now and open up my zip allowance at the back. So I opened up the second pattern at the back, so it's open now. This is going to be my zip allowance. The front one is still folded because there's no zip in front, right? So the next thing you're going to do is how to put in the dart. So to put in your dart, remember this is our waistline, so I'm just going to mark it so it's more visible. So, but normally you're supposed to do this on the wrong side, but I'm going to do it on the right side so you can see it better. So this is my waistline. I'm going to mark my hip line so you can see it better. So, and then this one is what I'm using as my bust line, which is also my chest line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down. I'm going to check my nipple to nipple measurement. For me is 8 divided by 2. That's going to be 4. So I'm going to mark distance of this point to this point 4. And then the next thing you're going to do is my dart is going to stop. You're going to measure your shoulder to your bust. So when my shoulder to my bust is about 10.5, which is somewhere here, and my dart is going to stop 1 inch before that. So 1 inch before that is going to be somewhere here. So I'm going to extend my dart all the way to the top there, straight line here. So your dart will stop 1 inch before your 1 inch before your breast. That's if you measure your shoulder to your bust, your dart will stop 1 inch before that, and then your hip line. So I'm also going to put in that 4 inches here, and then your dart coming to the hip is going to stop 2 inches before your hip. So this is my hip line, is going to stop 2 inches before that, which is here. And then I'm going to extend the line all the way to the waist. And then what you're going to do is, remember you added 2 inches at the waist here for your darting. So you're just going to mark half an inch on this side, half an inch on this side, and then you're just going to connect it this way. So that's basically how you're going to mark the darts. So you blend it into this point. And then for the back is the same thing for the back, except the line of this dart here is going to extend all the way to the chest line, which is on this line here. So you will not stop 1 inch before the bust for the back, because the back doesn't have any bust. So you're going to extend the dart all the way to the chest line. So that's how you're going to fix in your dart. So now I'm going to go ahead and first put in my dart, use bias to finish up this here, and then join the sides of my cloth together. Next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and measure around the neck, right? So this, I've joined everything. As you can see, I've used bias to finish this up, finish this side too. So what I'm going to do now, I have a video on how to use bias. So what I'm going to do now is just, I use bias to finish this, finish the back also, then closed up the side. Did the same for this side. As you can see, I've also gone ahead and put in my dart. So basically the dress is almost done. So if we put the neckline now, we'll put in the zip. So for the neckline, what we have to do is go ahead. You see the front neckline here. You're going to take your tape like this and measure around the neck, right? And figure out what it is, right? You're going to do that. So for me, I have about 8.5 or so, or 8 inches. I'm going to measure it again. And then you're going to do the same thing for the back neckline. You're going to measure each one differently, and then you're going to add everything together. So you measure this side of the back neck, you measure this side of the back neck, including your zip allowance, right? You measure this side too, and then you measure the front. You add the 3 of them together. So guys, after measuring mine, it came out to be about 17.5 when I calculated everything together. So what you're going to do, remember this is going to be a turtleneck. It's not like just ordinary halter neck. So what I'm going to do now is to measure the width. So the width I'm using here is about 4.5, so that when I fold it, I will have about, when I fold it into 2 now, I'm going to have almost 2.25. Then I'm going to use half an inch to join it. If you want your halter neck more like longer, you can use 5 inches of width. Like if you want the band to be thick, you want the turtleneck to be thick, you can use 5 inches of width, so that when you fold it, you have 2 inches band on your neck, right? Because you're going to use the other half an inch to join it to it. So you can use 5 inches on the dot. So the next thing you're going to do is how you're going to get the length. So whatever you got for the round measurement when you calculated yours. So I got 17.5. I'm going to add extra like 2 inches to it for ease. So I'm going to use that 2 inches is going to go on top of my shoulder. So that part is going to run on top of my shoulder. So that's going to be about 19.5. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out and join it. So guys, the next thing I did is to fold it into 2, right? So I've cut it out now. I'm going to fold it into 2 this way, and then I'm going to fold it again. So just to find the center. So now I've found the center. I'm going to go ahead and notch it, right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is to find the center of my neckline for the front, because that's where I'm going to start. So fold it into 2 and find the center. So this is my center here. So I'm going to place the center of this together, and then I'm going to join it. So I'm going to place it this way, and then I'm going to sew on top of it all the way. So guys, now that I've joined the front together, and remember, like I said, you notch it and join it the center together, and then so that you will be able to distribute the band equally. The next thing you're going to do is to take the end of the band, right? So this is the end, this is the other end. You're going to take this end here, and you're going to go ahead. You're going to start from your zip allowance to join the back. So from this for the front, you started with the half center of it, but this for the back, you're going to start from the end of the zip allowance. So that's where I'm going to just start. So I'm going to start from this end and join it together. As you can see, I'm going to have some excess in between. So guys, now that we've joined everything together, you see we have some space in between the front and the back shoulder. We have some space in between the front and the back shoulder, and that's that extra 2 inches that we added. That's it here. So 1 inch is on each side. So what you're going to do now is to fold it this. You see, if you leave it straight, it will come out this way. So you're going to fold it in this way and just stitch it, top stitch it from this point to this point, right? And then if you want, you can top stitch it all the way around. But before you top stitch it, try to notch this part here, like snip like this, so that you can be able to release the tension, so it's not choking you on the neck. So that's what you're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do mine and then add the zip at the back. So guys, when I finished mine, I figured that the top part was too loose, but the bottom part was tight. So I went ahead and subtracted about half an inch at the very end where I'm supposed to put in my zip. So I made it like a slant line, like an angle, and then I chipped it off, and then I put back my zip, because when I tried it, the top part was almost like very loose, but the lower part, the bottom line where the body touches the top part was fitted enough, but the upper part was too loose. So I had to chip off that, and then I put back in my zip. And then another thing I changed was that when I tested it, I figured that my bust, at the bust part, it was like loose at the bust part. So I had to like pin it down and marked it with a chalk, and then just gave it a small short dart. Just pinched out the fabric from the inside. You see how much I pinched in, and just darted it so it was fitted enough. It's almost like a princess dart, but just that it's short. The distance was not even like 3 inches or so. That was it. So guys, I've put in mine. I'm going to just go ahead and iron it out, and that's basically it. As you can see, your zip is supposed to go all the way to the neckline. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.